Upon observing my nephew with his instrument, I was overwhelmed by today I will explain how I desire. Mocked my nephew for a month until he could no longer endure and arrived. My name is Jennifer, and I'm 37 years old. I am married to Carlos, who is years old. We do not have children. Nonetheless, we still reside in an expansive residence in Florianopolis, is a picturesque city that evokes a sense of charm. Carlos works as a truck driver in Paradise. The driver frequently travels and earns a substantial income. However, this also implies that he is seldom at home. Hence, I am a woman who is perpetually seeking fulfillment. In other contexts, our marriage has consistently been positive, however. At times I experienced feelings of loneliness, particularly on the evenings when he was present. It was on the trip when my sister inquired of me, requesting a favor from her son Christian, who was mining a few required to allocate a month in Florianopolis to organize a military force, examining Carla's generosity and kindness. He readily consented immediately. Upon a Christian's arrival, I was taken aback by the extent of my surprise. His growth rendered him no longer the boy I knew is now 23 years old. Remarkably appealing, you possess great handsomeness, and robust, you must be quite well liked by the girls, I jested. He responded with careless laughter, and responded that he was too occupied with engaging in training and academic pursuits for contemplation. The females currently found it entertaining how she was focused and serious. Yet simultaneously, I observed that an emotion within me he was beginning to flourish appeared distinct from other males. This disparity captured my attention. This week, Carlos had to travel for work once more, which indicated that I had commenced taking actions to attract his notice. There existed a scheme of which he was unaware of my involvement, implementing an innovative and exhilarating initiative that incited my curiosity to go more may occur with Carlos absent due to business commitments. It was solely Christian and me present on the initial day. I resolved to prepare a modest meal. As I stirred I recognized that I was more anxious than customary. The presence of my nephew, now an adolescent, the grown-up, instilled a sense of unease in me, was reluctant to acknowledge it, possibly because of curiosity. When Christian entered in the kitchen to assist me, I observed that he was endeavoring to exhibit utmost politeness with me. However, it was evident that this stare was unable to refrain from lingering. I believe this clothing is suitable for me. I apologize excessively if such is the case. Used to more comfort, and I am capable, as I queried casually. That appetizing Christian was taken aback by He responded to the gentle inquiries with a negative, addressing her as Auntie. It appears excellent. Do not be concerned about the discussion. We conversed during lunch in a comfortable manner. The examination for which he was prepared informed me about his training. I subsequently noted that he was exceptionally robust and in excellent condition of physique. Typically observed on television, he expressed amusement and gratitude towards me for that he received numerous compliments. Committing oneself prior to inquiring of you. Auntie, have you engaged in any physical activity? Your exercise regimen suggests you are in good condition. I replied with a laugh. Nothing. I have consistently exhibited this behavior, possessed a physique that your uncle appreciates. Nonetheless, circumstances begun to alter. Gradually, my nephew appeared to observe him, exhibited considerable appreciation for my actions. He did not communicate anything to the days. Departed serenely during that week. Carlos was still traveling. I was becoming progressively inquisitive regarding how I might entice Christian one. In the afternoon following lunch, I resolved to wash. Request Christian's assistance with the dishes. I have entered the kitchen with that composed and reticent disposition, eager to comply. Whatever is necessary, will you dry the dishes? I regret not having requested from him. He accepted the dish towel and commenced collaborating alongside me as we observed that the chat was informal and unremarkable. We discussed mundane topics, such as how he was acclimating to urban life, and inquired about the progress of his exam preparation. But I observed that occasionally he would observe the contours of my blouse that remained unaddressed, and I continued to ponder whether I was enticing him in a certain manner. That is, when I intentionally dropped a spoon on the floor. Feigning ignorance, I was engaged in an activity. I gradually bent down to retrieve it. As he crouched, I sensed Christian's penetrating gaze. He gazed at me. I did not require to look at him. To recognize his agitation and gaze directed toward I, demonstrated while standing with the spoon in hand, resumed washing fetishes, as though nothing had transpired. Yet I observed that Christian exhibited distinct characteristics. He exhibited increased reticence and a heightened sense of anxiety. Perhaps animosity serves as a concealment, however I am capable. He was fidgeting with his hands. If something was troubling him in his, he regarded me with a hint of surprise. In response to the inquiry, promptly stated, "Nothing, Auntie. I am merely contemplating." The training smiled at him and spoke. He need not be excessively concerned that he was performing satisfactorily, and all matters will go effectively completed. The washing of the dishes exhibit insolence, and I observed that the atmosphere between us has transformed. Christian exhibited evident discomfort, and I recognized that a portion of it was attributable to myself, which was precisely what I desired. As he reclined to slumber, I contemplated. Regarding what had transpired was not. It was merely a mild provocation, an unfamiliar sensation, potentially perilous, yet simultaneously, it piqued my curiosity to explore further. May occur that evening. Following an otherwise mundane day, I experienced the inner restlessness. The fire that had accumulated over the preceding few days were becoming unmanageable. Extinguish. After confirming all is secure. Upon ensuring the house was orderly, I resolved to proceed to Christian's chamber to ascertain his presence. Required anything. As I neared the door, I overheard him say, "It seems as though she is testing. I am uncertain about how much longer I can endure." "Persevere," he articulated in a tone of joy, and worry flushed my cheeks. Embarrassed at realizing that I was aware. Engaging in perilous behavior, although his remarks regarding the phone prompted my realization regarding Christian, was no longer the youngster I recognized, but a man grappling with his own aspirations. An internal spark was kindled within me, and my interest intensified, prompting me to choose not to enter the room at the. However, what I heard continued to resonate in my mind. It was evident to me that he was the notion captivated me, elicited an excessive level of excitement in me, reverted to I was in the chamber, although I was unable to sleep. I turned and reclined in bed, contemplating what it would entail. If I were to approach matters, and shortly thereafter, the subsequent evening, I proceeded. By Christian's chamber once more, I heard his voice on the phone. "She will not." Cease. I am uncertain about how to proceed. Contemplating her drives me to madness. This time, the yearning in his voice was evident, and I was aware I was on the verge of traversing I remained there attentively listening. Upon concluding the phone call, I waited for a few minutes before departing. A brief pause of silence prior to resuming. I did not wish to expedite matters in Tommy's room. However, I appreciate the notion that he was contemplating. Of me in that manner when I reclined in bed that night, with a smile on my visage, aware that the game was merely commencing. It was not. It pertained primarily to Christian. The influence I exerted over him and its impact on me. Experience vitality once more. It was time to ascertain how. This game may take me all day. Resolved to indulge in an extended soothing bath. Upon entering the bathroom, I recognized that I had left my towel in the bedroom, grinned seeing it as the ideal justification, and summoned Christian in a gentle manner, a voice requesting him to fetch the towel. It was on my bed. Could you retrieve it? For me, I inquired, attempting to seem nonchalant. Upon his arrival at the toilet door, I remarked, "You may enter, Christian, if I exit. In this manner, I will saturate the entire floor with an innocent tone." He paused for a momentarily, then proceeded to extend the towel to Mew. Without direct visual contact, I observed his increasing nervousness, nearly quaking concurrently, attempting to maintain his coolness when I took the towel from his hands. Our eyes ultimately encountered, and it seemed as though time had stopped. Ash turned to depart and mumbled, an indication of the necessity to depart, and I was unable to refrain from teasing him somewhat. "Thank you, sweetie. I hope I did not. I apologize for any inconvenience," I stated gently as I leaned forward, observing my nephew's activities against the wall and anxious demeanor, and shutting the door following him immediately upon his departure. Sensing my heart raced, I realized I was affecting him. However, it was also impacting me as I endeavored to sleep. I contemplate what transpired. At that moment, Christian's thoughts were focused on him, additionally grappling with his own aspirations similar to my contemplation regarding him, may have considered me in that manner. Perhaps it was time to smile. Proceed to the next step cautiously to avoid any missteps. Very distant, it was late, and following on a tranquil day, I resolved it was time to observe the extent of Christian's willingness at this late hour. Christian and you possessed the justification of, "Would you want to obtain a glass of water to take a brief respite?" He inquired in a subdued tone. In a gentle tone, "Auntie, I am not fatigued. I believe I shall remain here for a bit longer," he stated, attempting to remain composed. But he appeared anxious, hence, "I am retiring for the night. If you require assistance, I will be in my room," I stated, leaving the inquiry unresolved. As I approached the door, I observed the air, returning one final time to apprehend Christian. His eyes were unable to watch me carefully. Avert your gaze from me later that evening. Was unable to sleep. The events that transpired throughout the day were... It remains vivid in my memory that I exited the bed, then traversed the hallway quietly too. I paused in front of my nephew's room. The shut door eavesdropping on the gentle, I knocked gently, hearing the sound of his breathing, and he said in a somewhat drowsy tone, requested Christian's voice to disclose that he was endeavoring to sustain his composure, affirming, "Yes. Aunt, I am uncertain. At times I get a sense of disorientation and desire to attend social gatherings, yet require concentration on my research. Comprehends my gentle response when we are alone. I place my hand on his. The emotions are overwhelming, so do not be concerned. The contact of my palm seems to soothe him. While also engaging my nephew, I could perceive in his eyes that there was conflict. In opposition to that goal, you hold a unique significance to me, Christian. I desire for you to be aware. I apologize if I occasionally wear excessively. Garments of a sensuous nature provide enhanced comfort. If it disturbs you, I may adjust accordingly. Attire suitably. I am aware that men's individuals often contemplate many mischievous thoughts regarding their aunt. There was laughter, anxiously. He gazed at me with an amalgamation of relief and longing. I do not. It does not concern Aunt Jennifer yet. It resembles. You stated that a man becomes stimulated immediately when he observes a woman resembling you, irrespective of her status as his aunt, and in that moment, sleep well whispered beforehand. Upon exiting the room, Carlos returned home. During several days, accompanied by the feeling of typically, throughout our married life we have returned. It was once a sit, but now it has changed. An exclusive matter between Christian and me disclosed our link. He was examining me with more desire, the little provocations in the gaze laden with duplicity. all meanings appeared to be in a state of anticipation. The opportune opportunity has passed afternoon, and we resolved to partake in a barbecue, to relish familial moments behind me. I believed it to be Carlos, but upon his turning, I observed it was Christian. He was exceedingly proximate, and I could perceive every his muscle pressed into me as he leaned advance slightly more. My heart quickened, and he murmured, "I am well. But what brings you here? Your uncle will be displeased to see." I replied, "You are distanced from the grill," endeavoring to maintain composure. However, my voice was a somewhat unsteady. Christine smiled the smile. I acknowledged that he was occupied with the meat, and replied in an elevated tone, nearly a whisper, "So he will remain unaware if I assisted somewhat in this vicinity." There was something in the manner he articulated it that provoked a visceral reaction of excitement. Anxiety has remained near me while I persisted in chopping the vegetables. To focus, however, it proved impossible, sustained his closeness and the heat of his body in proximity to mine. You are provoking me, just like I did." "With you?" I inquired, partly in jest and partly serious. Little anxious yet present replied in a tone that was both playful and serious before. To proceeding departed prior to the situation escalating, Boulder returning to the grill adjacent Carlos, who was unaware of the situation. I remained in the kitchen during the occurrence. Isolated, endeavoring to reestablish authority of the circumstance, and my subsequent reflections during dinner, the fervent joy among Christian and I continued with Carlos. He observed nothing entirely. Unaware of the events occurring between us, with Carlos absent on another journey, the house fell silent once more. Space for us and the provisions entered I donned a short silk nightgown in the room, and gentle to the touch, I reclined on the rested-in bed, but was unable to sleep. I was aware of Christian, was likely in the adjacent room. Despite my restlessness, the notion that he could exist contemplating me when I was contemplating his qualities elicited a smile, prompting me to rise silently. I stepped to the entrance of my room, hesitated briefly, but eventually proceeded. With a resolute mindset, I proceeded with measured steps to Christian's chamber and rapped gently on. I was quite taken aback by the door. As he opened it, his gaze descended along my body. Ash evaluated the circumstances prior to I was also awake while responding. Appreciating the view, I could sense the as. The heat intensified between us. I moved closer. "May I sit by the bed?" Slowly I inquired. Notwithstanding my prior knowledge of he merely nodded in affirmation. Gesture. When I took a seat beside him, the proximity intensified my excitement, recognized that I was on the verge of transcending my limits. "Dear, do you wish to engage in a game with Meta-Day? A commemoration of your theoretical examination?" I inquired about the score, overwhelmed with anticipation. Responded to me in a resolute tone that this is my desire. "Aunt Jennifer, you provoke me significantly. Do not be unkind to me. Rather allow me to take pleasure in the moment. Do not be concerned you are capable. Delight in it for the remainder of the day, my dear. If you depart, I shall be your recompense henceforth. You will exert much effort to succeed in the physicalist examination. Shortly thereafter, we engage in an extended kiss. I had never experienced such relief as when we were completed." Christian remarked, to which I replied that Carlos failed to capitalize on the curves, entirely necessitating that I must seek amusement on the street, in his company, at home. Everything was ideal for him. The days elapsed and Carlos remained absent, the house that once felt secure. Haven had transformed into a recreational area where each word possessed a dual significance when Carlos returned after his journey unaccounted for. The bar to which he ran to drink a few beverages as I was cooking his meal, Christian advanced from the rear with the reduce the usual volume to relax your uncles today. Keep the bedroom door ajar, and I shall be present. He stated calmly that he will be there at midnight. A voice bestowing 2 kisses across his face. It is merely Aunt Claro that I have sampled it. I am unable to restrain the need to possess you. Men drive me to madness. We responded with fervor. With fervor, he kissed me and departed. Carlos returned home to the living room. Following the conclusion of dinner, it was late, and Carlos had fallen asleep. Succumbed to slumber due to excessive alcohol consumption. Entered my nephew's room. He was already present, prepped and poised to meet me promptly. Upon his entry, I secured the door. Initiated the process of breaking the ice. Your physique is remarkably robust and resilient. My affection in that fragment. Your presence induces a pervasive chill within me. Christian, attempting to restrain the want to kiss me, inquired, "Are you certain? The cuckold is already asleep?" "My dear, I prefer that he does not disrupt our game." I bestowed upon him 2 kisses and responded, "Do not. Do not fret, my love. I am solely yours." Thus we engaged in kissing and sexual intercourse for 2 hours. Subsequently, I resolved to return to bed in order to must refrain from causing my husband any concern. Christian kissed me and stated, "Do not. He is concerned. He has no doubts." "What about Io?" Jennifer remarked affectionately. "Your uncle is scheduled to travel last. The week of the month, my love, and this is your final week here. Let us maximize our time together. Of it." Carlos departed the following morning around daybreak, bid me farewell, and immediately thereafter started the truck and proceeded to open the I approached the door to reach Christian when I heard. He knocked on the door, requesting to, upon entering, I opened the door, and he stated, "Today, I wanted to inquire about your reflections on making a lasting impact in this room, and on this bed." I was merely donning a top when I responded, "Honey, this week I want you to make a significant impact. I request that you leave everything over the house. Memory cannot be restrained indefinitely." Upon concluding my statement, he approached me, and started kissing me with all that fervent youth, murmuring, "This is the most exceptional journey of my entire life." Thank you, Aunt Clara. We engaged in playful activities, remained awake during the night, and subsequently slept in that location the following day. Would you mind if you were out taking the final examination for the competition, when I attended every moment we shared together? Last month, I was taken aback by you, Christian, and today you have officially become my favorite nephew, I remarked, laughing, with ambiguous implication, to which he replied, "Jennifer values the time I dedicated. It was a fantastic learning experience, an experience for me contingent upon all factors. Is it possible for me to attend the workout session, return as commencing work will arrive within Florianopolis, allowing me to remain here at your residence for an extended duration contingent upon? You desire me to, of course, my dear, open the door. Is invariably, I am forward to engage in more enjoyable activities with you." We did not experience the level of enjoyment we could have. Remained consistent. We engaged in an extensive conversation previously. He has finally departed. I am still awaiting him to message me to confirm the day he is. I have already informed Carlos, and he said unequivocally that, "Christian, you may remain here at home if you choose." Subscribe to the channel and leave a comment on the video. And